The Pit Press Podcast.
Reinholz launches from downtown. No. Van Horn, no. And that's it. New Mexico wins it.
Kenny Thomas blocks. Gibson hustling down. He has some room. And he gets it. Oh, long three. He got it.
Oh, my goodness.
Kendall Williams from 35 feet. For the win. Snell. Got it. He got it. Wow. With 1.8 seconds remaining.
And New Mexico's going to dribble out the clock. The Lobos three-peat as conference tournament champions. Kendall Williams fires the ball into the air, but New Mexico wins it this afternoon 64-58 over San Diego State, and the Lobos claim the Mountain West Conference's automatic bid into the NCAA tournament.
Happy New Year.
I get to do that one more time, and that makes me very happy. Thank you, Dr. Peter Venkman. Hey, Happy New Year. Even though we're 7 days into this. My name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Podcast. This episode recapping. This isn't Siskel and Ebert. Recapping last night's UNM 77-60 victory over Wyoming. They earned their first conference victory of the year in the Mountain West. Moved to 12-2, 1-1 in Mountain West Conference. So we'll get into all that. But as always, I'm joined by a panel of my peers, I guess, per se. And I always start with this guy, a Lobo fan since 1970 and the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs. His name is Mr. Ed Nunez. Ed, how are you doing?
Doing great, Ryan. Great to be on with you guys, as always.
Go Washington football team. As Eric, I want the Giants to lose for draft pick purposes. I want Michael Penix Jr. Anyway, to after what he did to Texas, even though that secondary sucked. Eric Moulton, my business partner in this endeavor. Hey man, Happy New Year. Glad you're feeling better because we both got whatever and it sucked. And I saw my friend Donnie, aka Lobo Ronnie, Donnie Montoya at Rick knows him at the game last night. He got sick and it just felt like everybody had something. So glad. I hope you're mostly feeling better because I finally am after like 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm happy to be back. That flu, man, is no joke. It literally took me and my family out cold for like a full week, and we're still kind of dealing with some stuff. But happy to be back. Happy to talk some Lobo basketball. Not entirely encouraged by last night's showing, but a win is a win. So let's jump into it.
I have some thoughts. I think we all do, especially by the meme that the GIF that Neff sent us during in our group text last night. All right, he is a two-time all-state offensive lineman for the San Juan Mendoza-led St. Spartans, and he's an MVP of a Filipino over 35-year-old league in in a county in Northern California. That's my favorite stat. And he knows just about as much NBA and X's and O's as the next person, and I'm glad he's joining us, Mr. Richard Thompson. Senor, how are you?
I'm doing well, guys. Celebrating my New Mexico day, a day late here, but here's to our great state. Thanks for having me on.
This is very funny because my mom collects those. Here's my St. Andrews mug. That's a long story, but I have the same mug from Starbucks from around the country, and I guess spanning the globe. That's some good Dunkin' Donuts coffee. There's a plug. And two, you can follow him at NM Sports Capper if you need to know something about a baseball prospect or a mid-major basketball team. He's your guy, Mr. Jacob Neff. Hey, man, how are you doing today?
Doing good, Ryan. Like Eric said, glad to talk some basketball and ready for the NFL today.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I've had my qualms with the NFL. I still watch. I'm pretty amped up for it today because of everything that, for continuity purposes, it doesn't really help us, but in the terms of a podcast, but I'm pretty pumped up about it. But there's something I love much more, and that's college athletics. I'm excited for the football national championship game tomorrow night. And I love college basketball. And we just happen to be in a city and state that loves its basketball. And I'm rambling on about it. UNM beats Wyoming last night again, 77-60. Here's some highlights, courtesy of CBS Sports. Donovan Dent, JT Toppin. Donovan Dent doing his thing. I think, Rick, I'll ask you about Toppin in a bit. And Jalen House with the very odd night. I don't know what's going on with this team, but hey, here's a highlight.
Good defense by Toppin.
Lobos have made their last 4 shots. What a feed down low, and with the jam, it's Toppin.
And here's a House highlight, once again, courtesy of CBS Sports Network.
Career that started at Kentucky. Wild shot. Oh, my goodness. How did that go in? Jalen House.
I love those guys. I don't know who those two play-by-play guy and color analyst are, but they were great. And as I have in my little notebook here, I'll give my thoughts, and then I wrote some things down that we were talking about last night because I'm trying to do my journalistic due diligence. It was the Donovan Dent show again. He had a game-high 21 points. He shot 9 of 16, 2 of 4 from 3, which I think regardless, you're shooting 50% from 3. For him, hey, very good. The refs were horrendous. We know they suck. UNM still covered. They won by 17. It got a little dicey early in the first half. And I'll ask Neff about this. It probably should have been like a 30-point victory. This team has a lot to figure out. There were 15, 19. So almost, 34 fouls. That much like the New Mexico State game in December, that first half, I looked at the clock on my PC, my laptop, and it was 9 o'clock. The game tipped at 8. That is, it's terrible. It's completely horrendous. The refs, and I watched UTEP and NMSU the other night, and the Conference USA refs were just, dear Lord, it was terrible to watch. I don't think this team is very good, chemistry wise. There's a lot of talent, and I don't think I'm saying anything special that Lobo fan on X, or the artist formerly known as Twitter, is saying. I don't get this team yet. And if they played like they did last night, this is more of a crucial week than I thought with going to UNLV, because it's still dangerous with Kevin Kruger. They've beaten Creighton at home. They're apparently an up and down team, but yes, I think they're dangerous. And then they're in, trying to think of a movie title, but they're in dangerous territory. That sounds like a Steven Seagal movie. This week, and with San Diego State coming here next Saturday, man, I do not know. I feel like that in this league, with what happened with Utah State knocking off Colorado State in the Spectrum in Logan, Utah last night, UNM is going to have to win every home game. They're going to have to go undefeated at home. They're already undefeated at home. They're 8-0. They've won on neutral courts. But I feel like they are going to have to win every home game in the pit this year if they want a chance. There's some talk online about, hey, this is a 5-bid league. Some sites have UNM out. CBS, I think Jerry Palm had UNM out. Lenardi has UNM in the last 4 in. It's like a big stink. And the Field of 68 was talking about it, that this is a 5-bid league. I think there's potential that this is a 6-bid league. Utah State, Colorado State, San Diego State, Boise State, Nevada, and UNM. Somebody might get left out, and sorry, Florida State, that situation. And then I'm going to throw it over to you guys after this, but I thought it was great. I didn't like the uniforms. I thought they were terrible. I thought they looked like, the Zia looked like something that New Mexico State wears now. However, there was a guy that has a dry erase board in the student section, and he wrote on it, "Go Average Joe's Gym," which I thought was fantastic. So, to one of my favorite, probably top 10 characters of all time, Patches O'Houlihan.
Is it necessary for me to drink my own urine? Probably not. No, but I do it anyway because it's sterile and I like the taste.
It's one of the best lines. That was a little bit too long, but that's so fantastic. Ed, I'm going to go to you real quick. And this is something that you had said in the text, in our group that and we were talking about it last night. The big guys aren't getting the ball. And Rick, you said that, so I'm going to ping pong that after this, because you were like, man, Toppin needs the ball more. Ed, just your thoughts. And I often wonder, and I know woulda, coulda, shoulda. This team might be really good if Morris Udeze had another year of eligibility. But your thoughts on the bigs last night?
We said that JT Toppin, I think he had 6 points and 6 rebounds, wasn't getting enough touches, and out of a timeout, they went right to him. They drew up a play, then he kicked it back out. We see good things. I think one of the things that I want to mention is when Dan or Mash was hurt, what kind of energy did the ball move with? Tom Moser, how do you say his name? I can't remember.
Coach Tom Moser.
He said when the Lobos were going the way they were when they're fast breaking, they look like the Showtime Los Angeles Lakers. And they did, for when Washington slamming, Dant coming to the lane, getting easy baskets. And now all of a sudden the ball stopped moving. So when Toppin's getting limited touches like that, the kid, when he gets the ball, Dant has chemistry. I think you mentioned that, Rick, or the chemistry that Dan has with Toppin is incredible. So those two working together, but all of a sudden, and it's hard to blame Mash for all of that. He had 2 shots off of picks last night. That's what we want to see. He's 4 of 11 or 4 of 10 from the field, a little bit of an improvement, but the ball is not moving with any kind of energy. And look at Baker. I circled Baker, 0 of 0, no shots, no 3-point attempts. He's the forgotten guy. He doesn't even look to shoot. He's looking to pass the ball. You don't need him as a facilitator. He's not even looking at the rim to be a threat. That tells you something right there. The other thing I want to say, I want to clip these comments as I can go on and on. I thought House and Mash were stargazing. You see Shaq at courtside and Cooper to a lesser extent. Believe me, Michael Cooper was one of the greatest Lobos ever. They didn't see Coop. They only heard about him. They didn't see him. But when they see Shaq sitting there, they know Shaq. They've seen Shaq. They want to make an impression. Some of those shots that House took, he's 3 of 15. Even if he makes them, he's dribbling and dribbling and dribbling, step back. Even if those go in, that's not a good possession. It's not. So I thought both of them, to an extent, were both stargazing, wanted to make an impression. But I'm trying not to be too critical. They did win, but I think we all would agree, this is not a formula for beating San Diego State, maybe not even UNLV on Tuesday. So to that end, I was a little bit disappointed. I thought, Dant played a usual good game. He got some key buckets when New Mexico needed him to kick Wyoming back down the hill. But let's face it, they got a lot of steals. Wyoming is a terrible ball handling team, very fundamentally undisciplined. I mean, it practically gave the ball to UNM a couple times. So that was good, and they did turn some of those steals into points. But I don't know, going forward, it's they've got a lot of things, as you mentioned, Ryan, to work on.
A couple things here, and then Ed, you mentioned the defense. Here's Patino post game, and I will say this forever. Patino's got a great sense of humor. Here it is. This is a Jeff Grammer asked him a question post game about the defense.
We were not playing defense, so there was a little bit of a switch. There was an adjustment I made at halftime. I said, guys, it's getting a little boring, right? Let's let them come back. No, we weren't playing good defense, and they're really good. He runs great stuff. He's a terrific coach, and I thought they'd have another punch in him. And our guys, as I told them at a locker room, hey, it's on all of us. I didn't have you ready in the first couple minutes. You guys were all in this together. Let's just weather this storm. Did a good job.
Neff, you mentioned this. Wyoming had 20 turnovers in the first half. I think it's very funny. I just happened to look at our Twitter, and 2 minutes ago as we're recording this, Lobo Johns, Jonz, Lobo Johns. I just mentioned it. Play like this next week, and we go 0-2, sadly. That's how I felt. Rick, I'm throwing this to the ball in your court. You said Toppin needed more touches. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just think when we're having those dry spells, like when they made that run, they need to look to the post to run that high-low with Toppin and Nelly. It's very successful. Toppin's been catching it at the free throw line, and he can turn and make his move or dump it down. Even running the pick and roll with Dent, it's so successful when they run it together. They just need to do it more. Toppin only had the 4 shots. And, I think he needs to at least get up, 8 to 10 shots a game for this team to be successful moving forward, because he's one of their most consistent offensive performers, with House either being hot or cold, Mash being up and down, Baker not wanting to shoot the ball now. They need some offensive consistency outside of Dent. So I think, Nelly, a lot, he missed a few chippies, as we call him, last night. It seems like he has a tough time finishing. So I think the more shots for Toppin, the better over some of these other guys, because, he's been one of the most consistent scorers. And just looking at the game overall with the turnovers, I think we got 28 points off those turnovers. And, as Ed said, they were just handing us the ball. And I think without that, this game is a lot closer, obviously. And that, I think we played about the same as we did against Colorado State. It wasn't that much different. And looking forward, like you guys are mentioning, some things will need to change. I think it'll come down to coaching adjustments and getting these guys to buy in for the bigger picture, because like Ed said, some of those shots House was taking were a little wild, and trying to hype up the crowd the entire game, it gets kind of tiresome watching him. So I'd like to get the Post more involved down the back home of the conference stretch here.
When you talk about House throwing up shots, obviously you can't see it, but here it is.
Career that started at Kentucky. Wild shot. Oh my goodness, how did that go in? Jalen House.
I mean, the play-by-play guy, it's he says it all. Neff, I'm going to go to you. You said, and Ned, I thought Jamal Baker Jr. would have been the X factor. I've said that a million times. It's like it almost feels like when Miami got together in the Big Three, they couldn't figure it out, and then they did, and then they called themselves the Heatles, and then the old man Mavericks got them in 6, which is still one of the stupidest things LeBron has ever said, the Heatles. I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway, Neff, I don't know. I wish Jamal Baker would shoot the ball more. 3 of 13 from 3, and you said it. They can't shoot the 3, and the offense isn't fluid. And then we'll get into the free throws. But just your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the fact that he's out of place because he can't find any rhythm, if nobody wants to get him involved, if he feels awkward taking shots, but something's off because, I mean, this guy averaged like 15 points a game for Fresno State last year. He could take the ball to the basket. He shot the 3. He should definitely be the piece that's coming off the bench now that's providing them a spark. And when you're not even taking a shot, and you're on the court with House and Denton, or, even just House, it just doesn't seem right to me. Something it just doesn't make sense. I mean, this guy should be taking the most shots off of our bench every game. He's the most talented. He's a 7th-year guard. He has the most experience. He probably has one of the highest platforms on the team. Started at Kentucky, went to Arizona. I mean, this guy has talent, and I just don't get it. To me, when you're looking for somebody, we can't shoot. Let's just be honest. The Lobos can't shoot the 3, and he's probably our one weapon that if he gets hot and he shoots 3s, could really help us, right? I mean, if he dropped 2 3s a game off the bench, that would be a huge spark for this team. And I just don't understand what's going on. When he gets the ball, he's not even looking to create to, try and take it to the basket or get open for 3. They're not running any offense for him, off-ball screens to get open for 3. It's just very weird to me. I don't know what's going on with that. A couple things I just wanted to highlight, though. 20 turnovers in the first half, and we built a 17-point lead. If you go to the second half, Wyoming only had 3 turnovers, and it was a 38-38 half. So if this game would have been a totally different game if the ball wasn't given to them 20 times in the first half. It was 28-0 in points off turnovers. I mean, that's the game right there. I mean, if they don't turn the ball over an excessive amount, now I'm not going to say that's not going to happen, because that's what Wyoming does. We talked about it on the pregame before that, or on the highlighting that game for last week. They turn it over and they shoot a lot of 3s, and that's what they do. But if they don't turn the ball over 20 times, I mean, we probably, even cut that in half, you're probably only looking at a single-digit win here, right? And that's concerning to me, because this is definitely one of the bottom teams in the Mountain West this year. And another thing that I was a little concerned about, 63% from the line again. It's continuing to be an issue. And one of the other things I noticed is out-rebounded once again. You cannot get out-rebounded by Wyoming. You just can't. We have way too much athleticism down there. And this is a team that likes to sit out at the arc and shoot 3s, pretty much every player on their team. How are we getting out-rebounded? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. That's a concern. And then Mash and House 7 for 25. I mean, it just seems like a lot of me ball again, instead of we ball, which is team ball. There's no fluidity in the offense, and that's concerning to me. You guys talked about hitting down in the post. You've got to figure out ways to get easier baskets when you're struggling. And I just see too many shots being put up within 12 to 13 seconds of a shot clock when you could run an offense, and you have so much talent on this team. It baffles me. And I think, yes, if we continue to do this and it leaks over into this week, we're going to have trouble at UNLV on Tuesday. And even though we're in the pit on Saturday, we'll have trouble with San Diego State, because we all know if there's one thing San Diego State's going to do, it's going to be playing defense. And if you're taking those kind of shots against San Diego State and you're getting out rebounded by Wyoming and Colorado State, who we're technically the more athletic and bigger team, you're going to get out rebounded by them and you're going to be in trouble.
And this is an unusual San Diego State team, Jake, because they've played more offense this year than defense. But I would just like to say that San Diego State has really not played anybody yet. They've played Fresno State and they've played UNLV. I think the jury's still out on UNLV, and I'm sure, I've got a contact in Vegas that would be like, pump the brakes, man. They're not good. And Kevin Kruger's, his butt is hot. They waxed Fresno State 74-47. That was kind of a comment that was made. Justin Hudson, the head coach there, it was kind of like, how does he still have a job? They covered the spread against UNLV. They won by 11 last night or yesterday afternoon. That game was on CBS, the big boy, 72-61. Regardless if it's a little bit of a different San Diego State team, obviously they still have Darian Trammell, Lamont Butler. They've got members, Jason Ledee, they've got members of this team from that runner-up team last year, that national runner-up team. I'm going to use my one and only curse word on this episode. They don't give a shit if they're coming to the pit. But Eric, I wanted to throw this to you about how I don't think they're intimidated by the pit. I think they're, you get the UC Irvines, the UC Santa Barbaras, obviously UT Arlington, I don't think of the world. They come in here. I think they're in a little bit of an awe, because in reality, when you talk about basketball arenas around the country, college-wise, Viejas is up there and the pit is up there. And I think it's like Cameron Indoor, Allen Fieldhouse. There are just certain arenas, and I forget where Michigan State plays. I think there's like a handful. But I can tell you right now, San Diego State does not care that these guys have been here and done that. And they got him. I mean, Lamont Butler's got that Eli Manning in him, Cowboy fan. He's got ice in his veins. But Eric, I just wanted, you had mentioned, and Ed is a proponent of this, the me shots, the me ball. Hopefully that's a new we can add that word to the Merriam-Webster next year, me ball. But you were saying that Mash was forcing up shots. And I love Mashburn. He's up there as I've said this. He's up there as one of my favorite Lobos. And I'd like to see him and House get to the tournament just for their career. I think all of these guys need to figure out a different role, and they need to play unselfishly. And Rick was talking about that, how well, and I know it was the NBA, how well the Warriors played together during the height of that dynasty. But Eric, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but just your thoughts overall on the game. And then you had mentioned that was something that I had taken note about Mash forcing up shots. And I don't know, I'm wondering if he's fully healthy.
Yeah, no, I think he's healthy. And nothing against the guy. I love Mash. I think he's a special talent and probably one of the best guards in the country, not just the conference, just from a mid-range shooter perspective, right? But when you look at the offense that these guys are rolling out there, and I'm talking like an offense from an X's and O's perspective, it's usually a one pass ball screen and then create something because of those three guards, right? And it's usually once they get that ball screen, then it's like, well, you could decide what to do. And these three guards are deciding to shoot the ball. And early in the first half, Mashburn and House combined to shoot 3 of 17. So that answers what Neff was talking about, where they generated these 20 turnovers, but they weren't able to get anything off these 20 turnovers. Well, that's why they were forcing a lot of contested shots. Mashburn tripped over himself probably once or twice. House was throwing up some shots that he was fading off. They were just not high efficient shots. And Baker, I don't think he passed up any shots. He just didn't have an opportunity to get a shot off. Every time he touched the ball, he caught it out of the offensive rhythm or offensive flow and didn't have a look. So he passed the ball on and kind of just went through how the offense is supposed to progress. And right now, I think these guys are just kind of pressing a little bit within that offense because I think this offense is designed to give them a lot of freedom. They get a ball screen or they pass, they get a ball screen, they do that 3-man weave up top, and then the offense is basically designed to let them create. And right now, the most effective person at making something happen is Dent because he has the ability to go to the hoop. He has the athletic strength to get to the rim and finish. But these other guys, Mash, he's like a one dribble, 2 dribble cross, pull up. House is very fast, might get to the rim, might throw something up very erratically. It's just not very efficient offense, and they're not looking to create for others. When they are looking to create for others, they're playing high-level IQ basketball, and a perfect example of that is when we saw the start of the Colorado State game, where Donovan Dent was running those high pick and rolls with Toppin, where Toppin was just going off. I think they started the game with back-to-back dunks. That's because they're looking to create out of the offense. They're looking to create for others. And when they're not doing that, they're looking to create for themselves and they're looking to score. And it's just not, I guess, team basketball. It's more of like a me ball, a me shot, which I'm going to give credit to Ed on that. He's the one that kind of came up with that term, but to me, that's what it looks like. And that's just my general observation. Toppin definitely needs to touch the ball on every offensive possession. Even if it doesn't result in him shooting the ball, he at least needs to get a touch. Get the ball down low, let him get a quick look. If it's not there, then kick it back out and run something else. There's a reason there's a shot clock, right? You look at Utah State, they beat Colorado State last night. I watched that game. They moved the ball well, but that's because 5 or 6 guys touched the ball within each offensive possession. If you compare that to UNM, you're lucky if 2 guys touch the ball on each possession. It's because either Mashburn or House get the ball and they shoot it. They're looking to create for their own. And that it might sound a little bit harsh, but they're not running much of an offense out there. It's a one pass, ball screen, create something. And to me, that's not very effective.
I'm not the X's and O's guy, but Jacob, you had said they don't run an offense at all, and I've heard that from connections around the conference that they don't run really a set offense, and it kills them. I think of that Bellarmine team from that small school in I think it's Knoxville or Louisville. It's in Louisville, Kentucky. And last year they weren't very good, but they don't dribble the ball. They just pass and pass and pass and pass, and it's kind of like, I guess, a revolutionary way. Don't quote me on that. A revolutionary way to play the game. But
is it Hoosiers where the coach comes in? And
no,
you might
no, I'm going to get a lot of
shoot the ball unless everyone touches the ball or something. Was that
Hoosiers? 4 passes.
Yeah, see?
4 passes.
You're going to get a lot of flack from me. I've never seen Hoosiers, and I think I'm along the lines of that Major League is the best, one of the better baseball movies, and I take a big fat poop on Field of Dreams because it's Kevin Costner just talking monotone. But anyway, I've never seen Hoosiers. Crazy. Yeah, I know,
simple concept.
Yeah,
but the Lobos aren't doing that. No, if you look, Neff said it earlier. Every shot that he's witnessed has been in the first 10 to 15 seconds of the shot clock. Really, how many passes are you going to get? And it's 1 or 2 passes. It's a ball screen, and then make something happen. And that to me is not very.
To me, it just reminds me of it reminds me of NBA style basketball, and the game of NBA and the game of college basketball is 2 totally different things. I mean, you can allow your team to up and run and try and get a quick shot if you're going to play that type of game. But the quick shot needs to come from somebody like Dent, who's going to drive it to the basket and create some contact, or get an easy shot at the rim, or, you know, get into the paint and then dish it off to somebody for three, or dump it off to Toppin or Nelly, something like that. But you can't run down the court in 6 seconds, say, okay, we didn't get a fast break layup or a wide open shot. It's time for me to dribble a couple times and then throw up a basket. I mean, that's not going to work. And it killed us in the Colorado State game. It killed us. I mean, we were giving up 10, 12-0 runs because you cannot do that when you have a run of 8-0, 6-0, 10-0. It's finding the shot to get you off that schneid. And it's not, you know, 2 dribbles, a pick, and a mid-range 18-footer. That, yes, those can go in, but it's not a high percentage shot that you're looking for. And I'm telling you, if you keep doing that and you keep running that type of offense, and you don't share the ball with these guys, you know, one more thing I want to say, it almost looks to me like the post players are completely disinterested on offense. And it's because they know the only time they're going to get any points is off rebounds and putbacks, or if they run that one high pick ball screen to get something open for them. And that's ran like 1 out of every 12, maybe 13 possessions. So if your big guys aren't bought in and they know they're not going to get the ball, and you're just running up and down the court 24/7, you finally start to say, okay, well, this sucks. I'm just wasting my energy running up and down the court, and you don't ever get them involved. And I think that that's part of what we're seeing too.
I feel
I
like
want to
it's
say
like,
something.
I feel like
real-
it's like
real
an
quick.
NBA. I feel like it's an NBA All-Star game. That's all I had to say.
No, well, no, Neff has a few good points there, right? And maybe this is my hard take or not, but maybe this is the exact reason why Josiah Alec decided to transfer out.
Damn it,
Because
I
he
was
was
literally
kind
just
of like
thinking that.
a little forgotten, right? Or he's just used as a screener and the guy that's going to go battle down low and pick up some garbage buckets and throw his body everywhere and just be that glue guy, right? Like maybe he doesn't want to be that glue guy because he did have some skill level to his game. But I do want to put Rick on the spot a little bit because he's the one that talks about it a lot. But the Golden State Warriors, right? And like how that team was really good at moving the ball around. The ball never stops moving in that offense. Never stops moving. And there's a reason why that directly impacts on how successful they are. So I kind of want to put it in Rick's court here and see what he has to say on that, because I think the Lobos need to start transitioning some of their offense, their I guess the theory or the tactic and whatnot, to kind of mimic that a little bit.
Yeah, so living here in the Bay Area for the past decade, I've been lucky enough to see the Warriors climb before they had Durant and now fall with Draymond going crazy. So I've been lucky enough to watch some great basketball both on TV and in person. And even before they won the championship, the main thing that always stuck out to me, and I've mentioned it, is the way that Kerr talked to each player about what their role was on the team. And you could even see that from the bench players when they got in the game. They know if they're out there just to shoot the three. They know if they're there to play defense and rebound. And right now we see the Lobos don't know those roles, right? Jacob hit it on the head. When Baker comes in the game, he's got to know he's the scorer. And I understand Eric, sometimes he just doesn't have the look, but it seems like once Mash came back, Baker kind of took his foot off the gas, as where the previous 5 games were, I think, his best games of the season, letting it fly. And I think that's because the ball was moving better without House and Mash. We already hit on that. So when the ball's moving and there's unselfish play, players don't care who's shooting. The game becomes more fun. Jacob just said it. Guys are involved. Even the bench players, even if they're not scoring, they get more excited on the bench when they see everybody getting the ball. And when they get in the game, that energy is contagious. So with the ball moving, when Curry and Durant played together and Thompson, everyone was wondering, is there going to be enough of the ball and enough shots to go around? Well, I think we know how that played out. When you have unselfish players like those 3, that energy just carries to the rest of the team. And I think we do have some guys that can knock down shots. It's just the quality, right? Like we were saying, Eric, just a few dribbles and then a shot. The ball needs to move down low to Toppin and Nelly and then kick back out or off the pick and roll. If it's not there, then kick it back out to a shooter. So I think the options we have are limitless, but for some reason, either the coaches aren't hitting it home to them or they're not listening to the coaches, right? I find it hard to believe that they don't have an offense. This is one of the best, teams out there in the country, and I find it hard to believe they don't have an offense. I just think it comes down to them not listening and not executing it.
I want to make a couple points to all your points, and I think they're good ones. But you talk about pace and space with Golden State, pace and space, floor balance, right? They bought into that because they've got even Draymond Green. Anybody can say what they want about him. He's coming back from a suspension. We've seen the way he acts when he's out of control. He set screens. He made good passes. He's a huge part of that system, no matter if you like him or not. He did his job. So he bought in. Now, when he starts punching people in the face for no reason, that he's acting like an idiot. And hopefully, he gets that out of the system. But that system in itself, that extra pass, the floor balance, man, when it was going, it was cooking. Who could stop it? And Clay's he's dropped off. There's no doubt about it. Those injuries, he's not the same anymore. But when it was going and going well, man, what a system. The other thing is this. If you're a Mountain West coach and you're seeing New Mexico on film, you're like, man, look, a couple of shots, man. Just get the block out. I guarantee one of those guys is going to jack up a bad shot. And then those other players start telling Mash in his ear, like, hey, man, your boys, Dan over here, has got 20. What do you got? And that gets in players' heads. Yeah, it does. You played Rick. You played Eric. You know how it is out there, man. People will talk crap. They will. So New Mexico, look at their floor balance. They don't have any. They don't run it. He's counting on those guards. Dance made pretty good reads, right, off the pick and rolls. He's made excellent reads. True Washington had 8 points last night. I thought he made a pretty good impact when he was in there. But with Mash and House, again, they're good players. We're not saying they're not. If you remember, before the Colorado State game, House had 2 straight games of 20 points and no turnovers. Played solid. Steals, everything else. Gets in the Colorado State game, gets in foul trouble, and then makes a 3-pointer and gets a ridiculous 4th. And then last night, like we said, he almost got another technical, made a shot, hit the post, the goal, could have got a tee right there. And it was in the paper yesterday. Jeff Grammer had said they're trying to keep him a little bit more under control. You're going to get the good House, the bad House, and we got a little bit of both last night. He did steal the basketball and score, but that one wild shot, and I know what he's thinking when he has 8 points. I know what he's thinking. I've got to get in double figures. I know, because some of those shots he put up were not good shots. They weren't. But he's thinking in his mind, I've got to get double figures. That's what he's thinking. Believe me, I know. So I think those things that you talked about, you have to have a disciplined team willing to make those extra passes. And sometimes we've seen House be a facilitator. We've seen that. Last night, he didn't want to be one. So you've got a couple of guards that will pass the ball, then a couple of guards that don't. That's a tough combination. Then another guard that you mentioned, Jacob, is a 7-year guy, man, and has played well at Kentucky, Fresno State, and Arizona, and is 0 of 0 last night and 0 of 0. No free throws, no shots. That's crazy to me. That guy's got to be involved somehow. Right now, he's just on the floor, not even looking at the basket, not a threat. So people are like, well, heck, we don't even need to guard this dude. If you're watching film and you're a Mountain West coach, there's some good coaches in the conference, and you're seeing that, what would you do? Hey, man, these guys are in a couple of 15 seconds in the clock. Their tendency is to jack it up within 17.5 seconds. So just be patient, get the rebound, let's go. We'll beat them. They'll beat themselves. That's just what we're seeing right now. Hopefully they can get it together, but they won't come close to beating San Diego State or any good team in the conference unless that changes somehow. So let's hope it does.
Yeah, I will say this too, Ed. And then Rick, too, you mentioned this just with Toppin's lack of touches or lack of shots, right? He got 4 looks last night. I think it's pretty apparent to all of us that he is super effective in that pick and roll game when he gets the look. And when he gets those looks, I think that there's an emphasis from the bench, Patino or whoever's calling in some of the offensive sets, that this is the play that they're going to run, and primarily it's run through Dent. But House and Masburn are also getting those high ball screens. And instead of them looking to score first, if they're looking for that off roll, or they're looking to become like this distributor, then how much more effective does the offense become? Because now they have to defend the pick and roll, or they have to defend Mash, who has a really solid mid-range game, right? I think it all comes down to this. What's the word I'm looking for? Just the methodical process of the playmakers that they have on the floor. I think that's the way the offense was designed. But it's really just what decisions are they doing once they come off that ball screen? Are they looking to hit the bigs down low, which when they do get the chances, they definitely capitalize. They're just not getting as many chances down low as I think we had hoped.
Something else that Neff mentioned, and I wanted to talk about it, is I thought this team was going to be deeper. Obviously, True Washington was sick. So last night you had 9 guys play. Toppin at 25 minutes, Joseph at 25 minutes, Dent 31, Mash 30, Jalen House 31. Jamal Baker played 12, True Washington played 13, Mustafa Amzil played 14. Isaac Mushila played 9. Now, Amzil had 9, 4 of 8, 50% from 3. That's 1 of 2. And Neff brought this up, and it's a very, 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 very valid point. Mushila had where did it go? He had 4 rebounds in 9 minutes. Amzil had 4 in 20 minutes. Thought this team was supposed to be deeper. I mean, I don't know where Quentin Webb is. I think Braden Applehands was hurt. I don't think the jury's out on Forsling. They're not going to play him unless they're up like 30. He's just not a force in the middle. But I'm. And I said it over the last summer, this team on paper is pretty talented. And it is. We're not going to argue that. I had mentioned how good are they going to be chemistry-wise, and I think we are seeing that. And you guys who have all played basketball, I didn't. I just like watching it and gambling on it, and I enjoy the history of things. I don't see where – I'm just kind of a talking head in this role. I think as we sit on January 7th, I'm going to have to be proven wrong. I don't think this is a tournament team. Just flat out, not chemistry wise as a tournament team. Now they can flip the switch. And if they flip the switch, like I said, this week is going to be telling at UNLV and San Diego State. If they're 1-3 and they drop that home game to San Diego State, I don't know how you have to go to Boise. You have to go to Nevada. You have to go to San Diego State. Hell, you have to go to Wyoming. I don't see how we're probably sitting here at 500 as a conference record, and it's not going to be good. But yeah, Neff, you had brought that up to me that those that rebounding statistic, that's really, I don't know. That's really telling to me. I don't know. You're the one who brought it up, so I'm throwing it into your court. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, we're getting that's concerning to me is how often we're getting out rebounded, and that we need some guys to get down in there and get physical. And I mean, I'm not going to bag on Amzil because I think he really played pretty decent last night. I don't think he did well on the defensive end, but he's also in an unfair situation on the defensive end because they're forcing him to be a 4, and he has no business being a 4. I mean, he just doesn't. He doesn't like the contact on the defensive end, but he's the only guy that Patino has that he has trust in that has somewhat any size down low. So that's the case, but it goes to show you that he's very successful on the defensive end because he's only got 4 rebounds in 20 minutes that he played or whatever. And then you got Mushila playing 9 minutes and he has 4 rebounds, right? So it's just a different style, different type of look there. But yes, the bench is concerning. We still don't have any game that we play, the inconsistency of, it's a good thing in some cases, but there is a lot of these good teams have that one guy that comes off the bench where you're like, okay, we know that guy's good for, 8-9 points a game. It switches with the Lobos, right? And that just goes to show me that we don't really have anything that runs for those specific guys when they come off the bench. We don't have an offense that says, okay, this guy's going to be our leading guy for the second unit, right? It's just see where it fits in. We'll get our shots the way we get them, and Hamzill's going to lead the points off the bench one game, then True might do it another game, and Baker might pop up every once in a while, it seems like, and have a couple of points. But that to me, reminisces of what we had last year. A really good starting lineup, no bench, no consistent bench. And you saw how it went for us last year, right? It started off great, 14-0, and then you get to conference play where you need to be deep, or not in somewhat deep, but just have some contributors, and it fell off. The ship crashed, right? So I think that's concerning, and we need to start seeing somebody step up into that role consistently. But you can't do that when you're not getting. There's no consistency in the lineups. That's what's bugging me. You can't throw Mashila out there one game and then say, oh, we need shooters one game and you're not going to play, and then you're going to miss 2 games and then you're going to come in for one game. There's no you can't get in any type of rhythm with that. You've got to start developing these roles on the bench where they know they're going to play and they're prepared for it, because right now it's just kind of plug and play and whatever makes sense that night, and I think that's concerning.
I think about what Jay Bilas said last year on Selection Sunday and the Monday after, and whatever anchor was hosting asked him how, if you don't watch college basketball and you're in a pool, how are you picking teams? And he said teams that get more rebounds. I was trying to look at San Diego State and what they did in March last year, and I looked at Creighton. They got out rebounded by 4 by Creighton. It's just my thoughts. If UNM is going to get out rebounded like they did last night, this is going to be the Hindenburg pretty fast. I think it's not going to be good. Rick, you look like you were going to say something.
It just made me think of something my dad always says that Charles Barkley said, and he said, rebounding is an attitude, not a skill. And I think that Mushila shows that, right? He's undersized, but he's
sorry to interrupt. Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are just workhorses, right? They're undersized, but still willing to throw their bodies out there. And unfortunately, that's something that I had to do throughout my high school and recreational career, being forced to play the post against Casey Cunningham, Brandon Holland, Alex White, all guys that went on to play college basketball. And here I am getting slammed on. But what you got to do as that guy is use your body. You got to annoy the big guys down low. And I think that's what Mushila does. And I think, rebounding will just come down to effort down the end, because we definitely have, 2 starters with the bodies and the effort to do it. But it's about finding someone on the bench that wants it just as much.
I think we're inching towards 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, so I'm sure we all want to get out here and watch football.
Last thing about Shaq being in the house, had not been there since
we didn't even talk about that.
1999, when the Lakers played the Portland Trailblazers in a preseason game in October. I was there. Kobe was also there. He had a broken hand and was shooting left-handed shots before the game. It was my first time to lay eyes on one of the basketball gods. So rest in peace to Kobe as we remember that game. But just to think about, that was a preview of the Western Conference Finals that year that went to 7 games, with the Lakers coming back to win, being down 3-2, and the iconic alley-oop that we all know from Kobe to Shaq. So glad to say I was there, and it was cool that DJ Diesel was in the house rocking it last night.
Man, I didn't cue it up. I thought I had nearly everything ready, but I should have queued up Kobe. Tell me how you're Kobe. Tell me how my ass tastes. I should have queued that up. He was walking down the ramp, and I was like, I was like, holy. holy moly, that's Shaq. Like, and then he was there, and then he left it. Obviously, he had to go spin on the ones and twos at Revel, but it was cool that he was there, and it was cool that Michael Cooper was there. Ed, I know you weren't at the game, but I'm sure, as a big Laker fan, Michael Cooper back, Shaq in the building.
Yeah, I saw Coop play. I know I'm the ancient one on this broadcast, and Coop was amazing. He really was, and that's at a time when the media seats were all student seats. It was a madhouse there. The Mez was there. I never heard the pit louder, honest to God, during some of those games when they played. So it was good to see Michael Cooper then, retire the jersey, and Coop, has it still that he still would like to be the head coach at UNM. Probably is not going to happen. But seeing Shaq there, I had no idea he was going to be there until you texted me. And the years, that Ned James came out with something that he thought Shaq was the greatest player of all time. No, he wasn't. He was dominant for a while. Dominant big man. Kareem's still my favorite center, but Shaq was during those Laker years, especially in 2001 when they beat Philadelphia. I was never thinking, where's the defense? I was thinking, God, who in the heck would stop that? And Philadelphia had Dikembe Mutombo at that time, and there was Shaq was explosive, strong, incredible. Now, not a great shooter past 4 feet, not a great free throw shooter, not a great pick and roll defender, not a great shot blocker, but for a couple of years, my goodness, man. And then when he started putting on weight, it wasn't the same anymore. But I sorry to go off on that tangent, but it brought back a lot of memories when he played with LA.
I think, and I know we're UNM predominant on this podcast, that Lakers team, won 6? They didn't lose a game in the Western Conference playoffs. And I know they were dominant, and Philly got that first game. I still think it's crazy that probably the most memorable thing, and everybody knows this, is Allen Iverson stepping over Tyronn Lue. And then they didn't win another. I mean, that I've got a little bit of late. I don't know why. I have some Laker hatred in my heart. There's no reason for me to hate the Lakers. I was never a Kobe fan. I respect his game, and I use this reference a lot. Jim Rome always talks about he ran into Kobe at some bar in LA when he was during his playing days, and he was having a Corona, and Kobe was like, "Yeah, I got to go work out at like 2 a.m. He was like on his way to their facility to go work out. And I thought that, I respected that, and obviously a tragedy of what had happened. I'm a big, in the history of, I'm a devil's advocate. I'm a big, it's the Tom Brady factor. And I throw it up there with Kobe. Yeah, I think sometimes your losses outweigh your wins. 2004 against Detroit and 2008 against the Celtics and, the Eagles and the Giants. I'm not just trying to make that shift, but anyway. And my joke was, if you want to beat the Warriors, punch Steph Curry in the face. And obviously you'd get, suspended for that, but that would stop him if you punched him in the face. It's a terrible take. And you guys all looking at me like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Hey, it's time for Snake of the Week, or Snake of the Game. I guess my Snake of the Game.
Career that started.
Whoops, that's not it.
And this is a Snake
There he
of the
is.
Week, bro.
There he is. He looked serious last night on the in the student section, and I'm still trying to figure out what Snake's major was or what he has a degree in. But he was stepping on. He had a serious look. He had 1 foot stepped up on like that little like guardrail that they have prior to where the floor is and where the cheerleaders sit. I don't know, maybe Snake was a little concerned last night, but it was definitely Shaq Diesel being there. I thought that was really, really cool because he just walked down, and I mean, I wonder what he's like to see DJ. I'm trying to figure out how in the hell whoever is at Revel, kudos to them for getting him here. I mean, it's probably a passion. He probably doesn't need the money. But however they got him here to DJ last night, very cool in the midst of the college basketball season and the NBA season, because he's on, the NBA on TNT. So I thought that was very cool. Rick, your Snake of the Game or of the week?
And this is a Snake of the Week, bro.
Like you, I was not a big fan of the jerseys. I think they need to make the Zia symbol a lot bigger. And to go along with that, how come every time the Lobos come out with a new shirt or new retro gear, you can only buy it in the store and people online can't buy it? Look, if you want to sell merchandise, you know what year it is, put it online, make it for sale for people. We cannot travel 1,000 miles to the Lobo Den. You have a great shirt, let us buy it. Thank you.
That is all. I guess you can buy that long sleeve shirt. They were like, hey, we only have 200 available, and I was like,
They're telling people to call on the phone. I'm like, what is going on?
no.
And this is a snake of the week, bro.
Yeah, I think it's Donovan Dent for me. Just to bring some positivity. I think that guy continues to be the star of this team. I mean, just the way he played last night, picked it up on the offensive end. He's our distributor. Really the guy that's coming head over heels, being our best player as a sophomore. I think he'd be my snake of the game, snake of the week, and he's our one bright spot right now. Not our one bright spot. There's a couple, but our one big one that we that we can see that's going to turn into an unbelievable player.
I just want to say this. I'm like the Lobo hater on this episode, but or this podcast. Whatever you need to wrap Donovan Dent in bubble wrap when he's not playing basketball, because he's so much fun to watch. Don't let him get hurt. Don't step on a landmine. If Sebastian Forsling is there and somebody's backing up a car, jump in front of the car, pull the old Secret Service. Because I mentioned this in a text to you guys, and I think it was just Jacob Neff and maybe Rick, because I think Rick had said, yeah, I thought about that. This team would be royally, without Donovan Dent right now. I just feel that way. Eric, your snake of the game, snake of the week.
My snake of the week, I couldn't take a whole lot of positive away from the game last night, but
New year, you.
Post game, John Rothstein continues to double down on the Mountain West, and went on air again last night and was pretty pumped with the Mountain West, and was adamant that they were going to get 5 teams in the tournament this year, something they haven't done since the 2013 season. And we all know how good the Mountain West was back then. So my snake of the week is John Rothstein for making that comment. And if I can have a second option, I'm going to say the Arizona Cardinals for knocking out the Eagles last week to giving the Cowboys a chance to win the division.
Man.
Do you know who lost to the Cardinals? The Cowboys and the Eagles. Do you know who beat the Cardinals? The Giants and the Commanders. So go figure.
Bless Kyler Murray.
You know who? Let's see if I can play this right. Where is it? You know who? Who's also big on the Mountain West and UNM? John Fanta. John Fanta, Fox Sport. I had to do that. He's really big on the Mountain West, and he's really big on UNM. I mean, he had them in the Final Four. Ed, your snake.
And this is a snake of the week, bro.
Hey, bro, your snake of the week.
It's kind of weird, or not weird, but funny that John Fanta picked UNM to go to the Final Four. I remember when Charles Barkley picked UNM back, for the maybe to go to the Final Four back then. That made more sense, but this made no sense at all. Yeah, 2013 to go to the Final Four. That was a kind of a reach, but not as much of a reach as John Fanta. But I think I'm going to go with what Neff said, and Donovan Dent, 9 of 16 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3-point range, 4 assists, 21 points. And made some tough shots down the stretch, got to the basket and banked them home. And I think we mentioned he needed to hit some more outside shooting in our last recap. He had 2 3-pointers, so I think that's good. So that's my snake of the week.
All right, so Tuesday night in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, the Lobos will take on the Runnin' Rebels, which is the only team that they call the Runnin' Rebels at UNLV. They're just the Rebel. The football team's just the Rebels. The Runnin' Rebels of the UNLV with, man, I love Larry John. Those teams, man. They play through Tuesday night. Should have had this queued up ready to go, but I guess I was too concerned with playing the 20-year-old Fanta commercial with the Fanta girls. UNLV, it's on FS1. Tip is at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's 7:30 Pacific Time if you're going to the game. And then following, and you can hear that on the Lobo Radio Network. And shout out to Brandon Ortega and Kenny Thomas on 96.3 KKOB. They have Lobos Live with a post-game call-in show, which had been missing. And I'm very happy that's back because, man, during Chef's Kiss, during the heyday of the Rocky Long era, you'd get drunk people or methed up people calling in thinking they were going to a BCS game, and it was prime entertainment for us in high school. Then the following next Saturday, 12 o'clock, Mountain Standard Time, 2:00 Eastern. The national runner-up, Brian Dutcher, Lamont Butler, Darian Trammell, Jason Ledee, they roll into town. You can listen to that game on 96.3 KKOB, or you can get that game on CBS, not CBS Sports Network, the big boy, CBS. Looking forward to that. Eric, I got to start mentioning this. We've been talking about it. Hey, we're our YouTube channel, I think for our niche and our market, I'm impressed by the numbers because when I started my podcast, I had like 10 people listen. And then we started to talk about UNM more, and it was UNM centric. And then we came up with this name, which some people like, and some people are like, what the hell is it? Well, the arena's named the Pit, and then newspapers are print on a press. And then you also have a full court press or a half court press. That's how we came up with the name. We are on YouTube, so please like or subscribe. I can't believe I'm saying this. Like or subscribe, or tell me to go to hell. We are on. That was an old Simpsons joke. Buy me Bone Storm or go to hell. And then find us on I think we're just on about every podcast platform. We use Buzzsprout, but that's how we upload it. You could still listen to the podcast there. You can get it in MP3 form. But we're on Apple, we're on Google, we're on iHeart, we're on Spotify is the big one. I don't even think you need to subscribe to that, but we're on YouTube. Give us a listen there. Eric, I don't know if you wanted to say anything else about that.
And you can find just about all of this married together on thepitpressnm.com. All of our episodes, YouTube, Spotify, Buzzsprout, all of that's uploaded on the website. And Ed and Nick Nunez also have their high school show featured on all of those same platforms, and they've kind of hit the ground running with that, and hopefully get that off the ground and just as many views and downloads.
Just want to pump up that up real quick if I could tonight, Eric. Tonight, Nick and I will have Rio Rancho head coach Lori Mabry on. She used to be the head coach at Cibola and played at Kirtland Central, knows a lot about Road to the Pit. So we'll have her on tonight.
Right on.
I'm glad to hear that. For Richard Thompson from the Bay Don't Play, thank you as always for your comedic insight and your X's and O knowledge, because it's very good. But I'm glad you're a part of this, man. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Well, I think we all know why the YouTube views are up now that you got two good-looking men like myself and Jacob on here. It's just going to continue to grow. So anytime you need to look at this moneymaker, thanks for having me on.
Yes, no, of course. And to Jacob Neff for joining us. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, man. I guess I never considered myself like a Matthew McConaughey or anything like that, but I appreciate
Well, no, we appreciate you. I'm no Ryan Gosling or Ryan Gosling or Ryan Reynolds, but I try, and we'll go out to this song. And Mr. Ed Nunez, the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs, and a Lobo fan since 1970.
Hey, man, as long as my wife still loves me after 35 years, I don't care. Don't matter. That's all that matters, man, as long as she does, and she still does. So everything is all good. That's it. So yeah, thanks for having me.
And to my business partner in this endeavor and state championship at Capitol, Mr. Eric Malton.
See you later, guys. Stay safe.
All right,
Stay away from the flu.
Yes, it sucks. I don't like to say anything sucks, but it's terrible. Hey, I'm Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Podcast. UNLV on the road. I think we're going to try to do a live pregame show, see how that goes. Again, when they're on the road, we thought about doing it yesterday. We would rather be at the game because I don't think there's any way from us to broadcast from the pit because the internet isn't so hot there. Then you have 12,000, 13,000, 14,000 people talking to each other. But hey, Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you again. And here's Right Said Fred.
Well, yeah, I do my little turn on the catwalk.